Whether it's a horror show, a documentary, or a crime series, the shows that are always most interesting to watch are the ones that are based on true stories. It just adds more thrill to it all. We bet there still are shows that are based on true stories that you don't know of. Want to know which ones we're talking about? Then keep watching this video to the end. Want to get some goosebumps to start off with? If not anything, this show definitely made us jitter on the inside. We're talking about none other than The Act. The show remains to be one of the top shows ever created yet, and to think that it is based on a true story. Yikes. The Act is based on an article that got featured on BuzzFeed in 2016. The article was all about Dee Dee Blanchard and her daughter, Gypsy, and the story was spine-chilling to say the least. Dee Dee, a single mother, purposely made everyone show that Gypsy was ill, when in reality she was perfectly healthy. When Gypsy just couldn't take on with her mother's craziness, because really, who would cope up with all of that, she planned her mother's murder along with her boyfriend. The mother-daughter duo was played by Patricia Arquette and Joey King, and want to know something else more interesting? Joey actually shaved her head for this role. Talk about dedication. Mr. Shelby. Ever heard that name before? Drama, crime scenes, and lots of suspense. What else more do you need? With the mention of Mr. Shelby, you might have guessed what we're talking about. We're talking about none other than Peaky Blinders and the famous gang in Birmingham led by the famous Tommy Shelby. This story is based around true events that occurred after the First World War, where a gangster family and their ambitious boss ran the Peaky Blinders gang. The gang becomes the center of attention for Inspector Chester Campbell, and he then sets out to eliminate the Peaky Blinders and all of their crimes. The series then continues with this never-ending war. Till now, 5 seasons of the show have aired, and Peaky Blinders is one of the top shows on Netflix. An epidemic that affects a group of people. Now that sounds familiar, doesn't it? We all know what happens when a pandemic comes in and out of nowhere and sweeps us from our daily life activities. And somewhat similar story happened back in the 1980s. This one is a famous story too, with the HIV/AIDS pandemic that happened in London and tried to infect as many people as it could. The show, It's a Sin, tells the story of 5 young friends and how their lives got impacted with this pandemic, and the story is based on Russell T Davies' real-life experiences that occurred during that time. One of the characters on the show, Jill, is actually inspired by Davies' close friend at the time, who even made an appearance on the show as the mother of the real Jill. This 5-episode show is all set to make your hearts weep and break at the same time. What better show to watch than the one that has history, drama, and is also based on true events? We're talking about The Spy. This show follows the 6-day war between Israel and Syria, and the life of Eli Cohen, an Israeli Mossad spy. The show takes us through his past, where he got first rejected by the army, and then he reaches to this point as a spy. Cohen takes on the identity of Kamal Amin Tabat and then grows into Syrian society. He then befriends influential people and also becomes a close friend to Amin al-Hafiz, the country's future president. Cohen is able to form such close relations that he's appointed as the country's deputy defense minister. Even though the show's creators say that it's based on a true story, the former Syrian president, Amin al-Hafiz, said that he never met Cohen, let alone be friends with him. Also, the deputy defense minister position wasn't even open at that time. Why are most crime shows based on true events? That's what makes these so fun to watch. The next show that you definitely didn't know was based on a true story is Alias Grace. The show is based on Margaret Atwood's 1996 novel of the same name, where she tells the story of the Irish immigrant Grace Marks, who is falsely accused of murdering her boss and the housekeeper back in 1843. As if the accusations weren't enough, Grace was then even sentenced to lifelong service in jail. From there, she went on to become one of the most famous women in Canada. You don't expect Netflix to not add its own touch now, do you? Glow is a show that's based on true events, but the portrayal of it on Netflix is mostly fictionalized. Glow stands for The Glorious Ladies of Wrestling. That was founded by David McLean, who also founded ESPN. Netflix took on this concept and then made up their own characters and the stories after that. But no matter how fictionalized the events may have become, no one can deny the fact that the show is, in fact, based on true events. Netflix's version may get you to not believe that this story is true, and it's all because of the dramatic touches that the story got. A show that held the most meaningful message of them all. 7 Seconds is one spectacular show. Also, the one that you might not have known was based on a true story. story. It follows the story of a white police officer, Peter Jablonski, who accidentally hits and injures a black teenager, Brenton Butler, from New Jersey. Jablonski then calls his team to the scene, and the officers presume Brenton dead and cover up the crime scene, but the real story starts after that, and it covers the racial tension that still lies between white and black people, and the injustice that black people still face today. The aftermath that followed this went on to become a story that'll be remembered for so many ages to come. Regina King got an Emmy for an outstanding performance on this show, and even though there are only 10 episodes, the whole team of 7 Seconds brilliantly covered up the whole story without hiding the true essence of it. Did someone really try to dictate women and their roles in society? Ouch. And that someone was none other than anti-feminist activist Phyllis Schlafly, played by the talented Cate Blanchett. Set in the 70s, the show takes you through the story of Schlafly and how she tried to go against the Equal Rights Amendment and tell everyone that the roles of women in American society are the ones that have been already set so far. Of course, now you can't expect anyone to tolerate that now, can you? Each episode of this series delivers a clear and open message that tells a lot about the people of the American society of the 70s. Mrs. America is a show that you want to watch if you ever want to know about women that tried to bring other women down. Every bit of scandal that you might have heard of involving women? Then this is a show that tells it all. Call the Midwife is based on real-life events that took place in the 1960s and has every bit of boldness, wit, and charisma to it. Call the Midwife is one of the longest-running dramas to date and tells us all about sisterhood and what women have faced to reach to this point today. Uncover each scandal with the beauty of vintage, and this one definitely hooks you to your screens. A female writer of the 1840s trying to break down gender norms? Now that is a show to watch. Dickinson follows the real-life story of Emily Dickinson and how she tried to make her mark in the society as a serious writer. Emily then went on to become one of the most important figures of American society, and the show's a comedy 1-2, so basically there isn't a single thing not to love about it. With the beautiful Haley Steinfeld on the front, Dickinson takes you through a wild run filled with no one who's clapping for you, and just you on your own rebelling against everything standing in your way. You may have heard of this story. Wait till it becomes even more spookier. The famous murder to date is the one when Gianni Versace was shot outside his Miami Beach mansion in 1997 by Andre Cunanan, who had killed 5 people in total in just 3 months. Cunanan went on to become the FBI's most wanted, but right after 8 days of killing Versace, he killed himself with the same gun too. American Crime Story: The Assassination of Gianni Versace takes you through so much more than what was told to us, but in the end, the motives of Cunanan still remain unclear, with no one coming to a conclusion as to what happened. With a lot of suspense and thrill on the show, no one can actually believe that this one's based on a true story. A psychological crime thriller show that turned out to be based on true stories? Let's end this video by talking about Mindhunter. Starring the one and only Jonathan Groff, this series takes you through FBI agents and how their job revolves around getting inside the psychopath's mind. But what makes this one different is that Groff is even able to tell their next moves, and that makes the story so much more interesting. Mindhunter is a mixture of both reality and fiction and is one of the best rated crime thriller shows on Netflix. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.